you've got to work hard. There's no easy way. There's no easy money. And, these quick rich schemes are out there, and there's influencers say you can do it with nothing. Well, I want to see how far they actually get. Because if you want to last long in this game, you've got to make sure you've got a plan, you've got a strategy, you're prepared to work hard, because as a landlord, you never stop working. Never. Even if nothing's gone wrong, you still have to open your bank account at the first of the month and see if your rent's come in. And if it's even late, you might need to send a text. That is still work. That's still something in your head. And that lives in your head 12 times a year just on one property. Imagine you got 20 properties. That's about 30, 50 transactions in your head that you have to go and check. It's still work. Even when you're on holiday, you can't fully switch off because you've got to check your account at the first. So you've got to be ready for that sort of lifestyle. It's never going to be 9 to 5, weekends off. I've got my 30 holidays a year, and that's my lifestyle. Being self-employed requires an element of a lifestyle change for you as well. And yes, the good is very good. You get passive income. You don't have to get up when everybody else gets up. You can take a weekday off if you want to, but at the same time, it does come with all these other things. And if you're conditioned to something else and you're not prepared to change, then I really don't think it's for you, unless you're going to be a very small landlord and prepared to just buy 1 or 2 tickets and be owned by a estate agent who's saying, here's another bill for you. We had to change the tap, £200, please. Where you could do the job yourself for 50 quid if you've got a local plumber. If you want to be hands off, it's not going to be as lucrative.
So I suppose that's a trade-off though, isn't it? That you can be more hands-on and you'll earn more from it, and you could go the other way and earn less but have more time. And I think that all just, for me, just comes down, because I mean, I'm the same in my business. One of the reasons why me and my business partner, when I started Grand Union Finance, one of the reasons why me and my business partner actually went our separate ways is because we had opposing thoughts about this exact thing, about exchanging time for money. What he wanted to do was he wanted to exchange time for money. And that's actually really cool for him. He just wanted to sit at his desk, do mortgage applications, speak to clients, get paid on those deals at the end of the month, and then start again. And he was quite happy to do that. Whereas what I wanted to do was to build a business that didn't need me, because I'm a great believer that for a business to thrive and survive and do really, really well, the person at the top should be replaced as quickly as possible, because not necessarily because you want to do that, just so that you can. And I think it just creates a more stable business. So we were working in opposing directions at the beginning, and it's ultimately why we decided it was better off if I just kept the business and he went off and did his own thing. And I bought him out. But it's the same with property, it's the same with business, same with anything. You can outsource everything that you do and pay for that, and lose the control. I'm not a big fan of saying lose the control, because I actually think that what you can gain in time is worth the potential loss of control. Actually, if you put it in the hands of someone, they might actually be better than you are at doing these things.
Yeah, I agree with you. You've got to be smart about the situation. Like there's a few tickets, like my last 2 houses that I bought in August, it went straight to the council through an agent, and it's just guaranteed rent. That's it, done. Like I know exactly what I'm getting. It's about £200 less than the market rent, but it's guaranteed. Doesn't require no license because it's gone straight back to the council, and that's it. It's done. It's put to bed. I don't need to worry about it no more. So you've got to make certain smart decisions. There's a HMO that I could earn potentially £500 more a month, but I've given it to a partner who gives me, £500 less, but it's still way more than the market rent. So I'm still getting that little buffer, but he takes on all the headache to fight for that extra £500-600 that he wants. So it does come to a point. I think at the start, when you're starting, it's very important to try and be hands-on as possible, because you're trying to get money together to grow. And once you've got money, or if you've got a very good job on the side that you're earning earned income, then you can allow, because you're trading time for money. Now, if you can work in your job and you're getting 70 to 100,000, then surely that's better than leaving that to try to be free for a £50 tap. So it's all a trade-off. It all matters what position you're in, and there's no right or wrong answer, but you just got to be smart around your situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you said earlier on, you were talking about a kind of I guess you were giving a little bit of advice to to those that are maybe getting stuck in their head a little bit about investing in property is to the keeping it simple, keeping it, the basics of what you're looking at when you're taking on a new property. I wouldn't imagine you were as savvy when you first started out. Do you remember your first property purchase and how that came about?
Yeah, of course I do. The first one's always your baby. I've still got it. Today it's now a care home, getting double the market rent. And it's I did become also a builder at the age of 26. So I swapped my shirt and tie for labouring clothes, like mixing sand, cement, making mortar for the bricky and digging foundation, ripping my hands up, which was a massive change. But again, it shows you don't have any ego or don't have any pride, because it will get you places if you can put that aside. My first house was actually, I was working in banking in West End. I was a premier manager. I was 21 and I was working in Piccadilly Circus, and I've got on really well with Anish, the mortgage advisor. I knew I wanted to get into property, but I thought it would come later down the line. I wasn't sure when the right time was. You always think you're too young. You're conditioned a little bit. And then Anish goes, "Hey, look, I'm selling my property." I was like, "Where is it?" And he goes, "Dagenham." And I was like, "Oh, it's not too far from me." And he goes, "Yeah, I want 160 for it. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks interesting. Let's have a little look." So when I looked at it, it was just a normal 2-bedroom house. I didn't know a lot. Asked my dad, and he goes, "Well, if you think it's a good deal, go for it." So I said no. I said it was too much of a big task. I said no. And at this time, we're talking 2009, 2010. It was just around when the credit crunch had happened. There was only one person walking in that door if you were lucky for a viewing. It's not like 10 to 1 right now. So I said no. And then September came. He asked me again. I said no. October came. I said, "No, I'm all right." And he basically, what was the motivator? He found another property which was about 40, 50,000 under market value, and he really wanted that. And his loan was 100 grand on this property, and all he needed was 40,000. And I found out these details. Instead of 160, I said, "I'll give you 140 for it." Just throwing numbers out there. And to my surprise, he goes, "Yeah, deal done. I just need this done. I just want it." And I was like, "Okay, so how the hell do we start this?" And luckily, I had pre-approved limits because I always got a consistent income in my bank account, because there was a direct debit standing order going into my savings. Barclays had already pre-approved me for a mortgage to say, if you wanted to borrow money for a mortgage, we can give you this. I sat down, they gave me an AIP, agreement in principle already. They had all that information, and I thought, right, we're doing it. So I was like, what do I sort of need? So I had this vision of moving in myself. I was like, I could probably move into this place, a 2-bedroom house. I think I needed about 14,000, 10% of 140, 14,000, and there was a few costs associated on top. Luckily, I had a Barclay card there, and I used to use it for, I don't know if you remember when the Barclay cards first came out, they had the first Oyster tap-ins on there. So you could use it to do your traveling. And I knew my traveling, because I was always budgeting, I knew my traveling cost £138 a month. So I used to use that to tap, but then I used to make sure the direct debit always cleared it off, because I knew there was no interest to be paid if you clear it off, but it shows that you're building your credit. So that had a £5,000-6,000 limit on it. And I'm like, worst comes to worst, all the sort of from October, November time, it weren't going to complete until February sort of time, after searches were done. Christmas came into it. You have a Christmas break. January came, and I actually completed on the 18th of February, which was my dad's birthday. And I took him round to see that property. So it was amazing that I completed on it. And all I needed to do was go in and do a lick of paint. So I just asked my father, because a lot of tradesmen used to come to our corner shop, and it was a guy, Lindsay, and I was like, "Dad, have you got anyone to paint?" And he goes, "Yeah, call this guy up." And so I called him, met him up, took him to Wickes, bought some gloss, bought some vinyl silk paint and all that, let him get on with it. And all I had to do was check on him, agreed a price with him, very cheap back then. He painted it up, and in the meantime, I just started my viewings. I just put a little ad up on Gumtree, just normal, asked around, put a little sign in my dad's shop, and somebody came into the shop and go, "Where's that property?" And I was like, "Well, it's in Dagenham, not around Stratford." They go, "Oh, I don't mind moving there." Done the viewing, and that tenant stayed there for 7 years. Wow. The rent I agreed was £1,000. My mortgage was £500. All of a sudden, I'm making £500 a month, £6,000 for the year, and come on, 6,000 times by 7 years, your quid's in. You're earning the best part of 35, 40 grand on that. And all I had to do was buy a £500 kitchen that her husband was a carpenter.